Hare Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamana Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Anjaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Parivajaka Acharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivajaka Acharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Narayanam Namaskritya Narang Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Can you get these curtains for me? Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil. And loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 22nd day of June, 2026, in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in Canto 10, the Summum Bonum, Chapter 1, the Advent of Lord Krishna, Introduction, text number 38. Mrityur Janmavatam Vira Mrityu Janmavatam Vira Dehena Saha Chayate Dehena Sahajayate Adya Vabdha Shatante Va Adya Vabdha Shatante Va Mrityur Vai Praninam Dhruvaha Mrityur Vai Praninam Dhruvaha Mrityur Janmavatam Vira Dehena Sahajayate Adyavabda Shatante Va Mrityur Vai Praninam Dhruvaha Mrityur Janmavatam Vira Dehena Sahajayate Adyavabda Shatante Va Mrityur Vai Praninam Dhruvaha Mrityur Janmavatam Vira Dehena Sahajayate Adyavabda Shatante Va Mrityur Vai Praninam Dhruvaha Mrityur Janmavatam Vira Dehena Sahajayate Adyavabda Shatante Va Mrityur Vai Praninam Dhruvaha Mrityur Janmavatam Vira Dehena Sahajayate Adyavabda Shatante Va Mrityur Vai Praninam Dhruvaha Mrityur Janmavatam Vira Dehena Sahajayate Adyavabda Shatante Va Mrityur Vai Praninam Dhruvaha. Did you want to try? Mrityur Janmavatam Vira Dehena Sahajayate Adyavabda Shatante Va Mrityur Vai Praninam Dhruvaha Mrityur Janmavatam Vira Dehena Sahajayate Adyavabda Shatante Va Mrityur Vai Praninam Dhruvaha. Anyone online?
Mrityur Janmavatam Vira
Mrityur Janmavatam Vira
Dehena Sahajayate
Dehena Sahajayate
Adyavabda Shatante
Adyavabda Shatante Va
Mrityur Vai Praninam Dhruvaha
Mrityur Vai Praninam Dhruvaha. Okay. Mrityuhu, death. Janmavatam, of the living entities who have taken birth. Vira, O great hero. Dehena Saha, along with the body. Jayate, is born. One who has taken birth is sure to die. Adya, today. Va, either. Abdashata, of hundreds of years. Ante, at the end. Va, or. Mrityuhu, death. Vai, indeed. Praninam, for every living entity. Dhruvaha, is assured. Translation. So this is Vasudeva speaking to Kaṁsa. O great hero, one who takes birth is sure to die, for death is born with the body. One may die today or after hundreds of years, but death is sure for every living entity. Purport. Vasudeva wanted to impress upon Kaṁsa that although Kaṁsa feared dying and therefore wanted to kill even a woman, he could not avoid death. Death is sure. Why then should Kaṁsa do something that would be detrimental to his reputation and that of his family? As confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 2.27, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janmamatasya tasmad apariharyarte natvam shochitam arhasi. For one who has taken his birth, death is certain, and for one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament. Close quote. So this is, of course, Krishna speaking to Arjuna. One should not fear death. Rather, one should prepare oneself for the next birth. One should utilize one's time in this human form to end the process of birth and death. It is not that to save oneself from death, one should entangle oneself in sinful activities. That is not good. Om jnanatimirandasya jnanandana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara, the disciplic succession. So it's interesting that the argument that Kaṁsa, that Vasudeva is using to Kaṁsa, not to kill Devaki, because after all, Kaṁsa is going to die one day or another. So what's the point of killing her and trying to avoid it? You can't avoid it anyway. The same argument Krishna is using to get Arjuna to kill, and to fight on the battlefield. So it's been pointed out how in the previous verse or verses how composed Vasudeva was, how he remained under control, because here there's a sudden disastrous situation arose. His newly married wife, and here's her sister, her brother, about to kill her with a big sword, because he thinks that's going to save him from death. That's the point. It's going to save him from being killed by the eighth son, or eighth child. So Vasudeva is reasoning with him, and he's appealing, as I mentioned yesterday, to his own self-interest, meaning that it'll be a great stain on his reputation, and indeed it'll be a stain on the whole family if he does this heinous act. As Prabhupada has pointed out here, I think in earlier purport, that it's strictly forbidden in Vedic culture to kill women, old men or old women, children, or even those who are defenseless. I mean, on the battlefield, even the Kshatriya, if someone surrenders or it has no weapon, throws down his weapon, you're not supposed to chop his head off, you know. And in fact, we find many times in Krishna Lila that if the enemy is without a weapon, then you'll also abandon your weapons. In other words, you have to have a fair fight. Otherwise, it's not honorable. It's very dishonorable against the Shastra. So here's a woman, and you know he emphasizes in previous verse, and this is your sister, and she's newly married, you know, in this situation. And because you're fearing that the eighth son will kill you, after all, death will come one day anyway. But also, it's not her; it's her eighth son, her eighth child, who will kill you. So it doesn't make any, you know. So in many ways, he's appealing to his reason and especially his self-interest, that this will be a big black mark on his reputation. And those combination of things prevailed, and she was saved. We'll see in a few verses. So this is an important lesson here. One should see, as Krishna makes the point so many times, one should understand that death is inevitable both for oneself and for one's loved ones and everything. So that's not something you can avoid. But what is possible to avoid is rebirth, and that's the whole mission of human life: to get out of the cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death. But to do that, one has to take up devotional service, and sometimes, as in the case of Arjuna, actually surrender to the need to kill others, on the battlefield for the righteous cause. It's Krishna's desire and so forth. And so Arjun needed to transcend the very relationships, that was preventing him from killing. He didn't want to kill his grandfather figure, Bhishma Dev, and especially his teacher, and those two, but also so many others that he had some relationship with through marriage or even blood relationships on both sides. This is what he sees in that no man's land when he's sitting there on the chariot. And so that was Maya, because Krishna's right there. He wanted them to fight. The world will be benefited by the eradication of a lot of these demoniac kings and fighters. You see, it was Krishna's plan. So Arjuna is now, hesitating to do it, and of course, then eventually he surrenders. So this is certainly also Krishna's plan, that he wants to appear from Devaki and Vasudeva, and so in this sense, Vasudeva is also helping to fulfill, Krishna's desire, and he's not only saving his sister, but he's acting in Krishna's real interest also, because he's a pure devotee. So this, Prabhupada quotes this famous verse, and Jatasahi duvam mitya juvam jamamatasya, and that for those who are born or are living, everyone has been born, death is certain. But also for those who die, birth is certain. For the living entity is never eradicated. The living entity doesn't die. No birth, no death for the living entity. We are ajo, nitya, shashvato, purana. We are unborn, permanent, eternal, and ancient purana. Nahanya dehanamani shirire. When the body is slain, and the body is slain whether by a weapon or just by old age, disease, somehow or other, the body will become dysfunctional. Because it's a very complicated, delicate machine, and whether it's disease or some weapon, or you fall down the stairs or whatever, it's going to come to an end. So there's no point lamenting for the body, and but we should strive to make this our last death. In other words, we don't want to keep coming back. There's a process by which we can liberate ourselves from birth, old age, disease, and death. And what's interesting, if you think about it, is that's a valid motivation. Krishna talks in the 13th chapter, one of the key elements of knowledge, amanitvam, madambitvam. He has a whole list there, I think 8 to 12 or 8 to 11. I think it's 8 to 12, about 20 qualities, beginning with humility, adambitvam, and lack of hypocrisy and cheating, false pride. Go like that. And then he comes to janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, dukkha, dosha, anudarshadam. One should see and be aware of the misery, dukkha, dosha, anudarshana, and the fault, you will, of birth, death, and old age and disease. I like to put them in the order that they usually occur. Birth, old age, disease, and death. Anyway, this is a cycle we've been going through since time immemorial. And it's unnatural. It's not our constitutional position. We're in a situation in this material world of being a combination of spirit and matter, and identifying with the matter, with the body, and mostly, people forgetting that they're spirit, and not understanding all of our goals are pertaining to this body. How can I become more comfortable? How can I get pleasure by getting this person or this person, and marrying, sex life, and all kinds of aspirations and disappointments, all related to the subtle, gross and subtle body as well, you see. But that's not us. Our self-interest, our ultimate interest, is to realize who we are spiritually, and to act in that realization, so that more and more we transcend or discard the false sense, false ego, false sense of self as a bodily concept. So but it's interesting that although that's certainly a motivation, a valid motivation, and Krishna comes back again and again to that point, how you can escape. You don't have to, this can be your last death. You can go back to Godhead. You don't have to. But that ultimately, that motivation also should be discarded. That's why Lord Chaitanya teaches us in his Shikshastika. He's teaching us how to pray. you know. And in the fourth verse there is nadanang nasundarin kapidang vajagadish kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavatar bhakti hoituki tohi. The mama janmani implies that he's not after liberation. So what is he at? This is all what he's not after at the first part, right? Wealth, these are things people normally pray to the gods for. Wealth, followers, beautiful wife. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his commentary on this, he applies the Nadanang Sundarim. He provides this. He says the Sundarim pertains to the Sundarim Kavitam. In other words, a very beautiful degree in college or something, you know, education, you know. Well, probably the Sundarim is beautiful wife, which is also a very common thing that people pray for and desire. But these are all things that he says, no, nadanang, nasundarim kapitamba. Oh, Jagadish, you see. So then what are you praying for? But then next is, and mama janmani should, birth after birth, that means not liberation. Unmotivated devotional service unto you. Now I'd like to focus again on that word unmotivated, because you look it up, unmotivated means, who cares, you know, I'll do it, but I'm not really, you know, doing it with any motivation. That's what unmotivated means. So what proper use unmotivated to mean universally free of material motivation. I mean, why do we come to Mangalarti? There's got to be a motivation. It's not material motivation, but it's a spiritual motivation. We want to advance in devotional service. We want to follow the instructions of the spiritual master and the Shastra, whatever. Right? There's a motivation there, otherwise we wouldn't get out of bed. But it's not a material motivation. That's the whole idea. So that's what ahoitiki is used to mean. Ahoitiki pradiyada, you know, free of material motivation and uninterrupted. This is the standard for pure devotion. So anyway, so what not to pray for, what to pray for is pure love for Krishna. You know, let me be your eternal particle of dust in your lotus feet. That's the next verse. Ainanda tanuja kinkadam patitam mam vishame bhavam mudo kripaya tavapada pankajas titaduli sadasam vichandi. Ainanda tanuja kinkadam. So I identify myself as a servant of your lotus feet. Nanda tanuja kinkadam. Patitam mam vishame bhavam. I fell into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up and place me as an atom at your lotus feet. So he's praying to be reinstated in a position of humble service to the Lord. That's a prayer, means a desire, and that's how we can pray. So we're motivated by that. But here, the basic principle that everyone is going to die, but then the one that no one really, you know, knows, especially in the West, you know, without any training, dhruvam janma matasya. And those who have died, those souls who have left their body, you know, in the sense dying, they will get another body, janma, there'll be birth. Therefore, what is the point? Why should you lament? They're going to die anyway. And then at one point he says, I'm going to kill them all anyway. Basically, Krishna, you know, he's planned this whole thing. And he shows in the Universal Form chapter, 11th chapter, how they're all coming and, you know, he's chewing them up, the enemy soldiers, and it's scary. Arjuna is scared at that point because he doesn't see his beloved Krishna there. He sees this huge force. So they're going to die one way or another on the battlefield. So Arjuna's, if he leaves the battlefield, it'll be totally futile anyway. He won't save them. So that you know. But if you fight and help me in this, to eradicate this force on the earth, this evil force, then you'll be in your conscious position, and all good fortune will be upon you. And so finally, Arjuna says, "Yes, karashe vachanang tava. By your mercy, my illusion has now been dissipated, and I will do as you say." So that's the Bhagavad Gita. And here, Vasudeva will succeed in convincing Kaṁsa that it's not in his best interest to kill his sister right there. It's not necessary. But he'll kill all the children, you know. So he's a complete demon, but he won't kill his sister at that point. So he tries that. If he kills the first 6, And the seventh is apparently a miscarriage. It's actually Balaram being transferred from the womb of Devaki to the womb of Rohini. So how you have two mothers like that is unique. And finally, the eighth child comes, and Kaṁsa somehow had assumed it was going to be a son, because some girl's going to kill him. No, but it turns out to be Maya Devi personified. And he says, "Oh, look, even the omen is not telling the truth in this Kali Yuga or whatever the Yuga is in." He was surprised. She got up, into the sky. She said, "You fool! The child who will kill you was born somewhere else." Of course, now Krishna was born there, but he was taken to Vrindavan. So, Kaṁsa then consults his ministers, and they come up with the idea of killing as many children as possible who were born in the last 10 days. So it's just monstrous. But, there are things happening today in daily events that are just as monstrous going on. So that's what is being described here. But what especially comes out here is the equanimity that Vasudeva has. He's doing all this thing, making these arguments, and his so-called brother-in-law, who's going to be Kaṁsa, who is the brother of Devaki, he's about to chop off her head, and Vasudeva comes up with this argument by which he can convince Kaṁsa. There's no point in it. You're going to die anyway, and it'll be a big blight on your reputation if you do it. So it's not worth it because it's not necessary. When the eighth child comes, I promise you, this was a big thing because Vasudeva was known to keep his promises, so he broke the promise though. He didn't give the eighth child. He took him to Vrindavan. But that was another thing. Krishna used the same technique on the battlefield, remember? Because Yudhishthira never tell a lie. So he tried to get him to declare that Ashwatthama is dead. Ashwatthama being the son of Dronacharya, that would completely make Dronacharya just not want to fight anymore. That was the idea. Then he could kill him. But Yudhishthira refused. I never tell a lie. So he had to see hell. He didn't go there, but he saw hell for that. So I think the trick was that says, well, look, the elephant Ashwatthama has been killed. So you just tell him the elephant Ashwatthama, the elephant, has been killed. So he said, okay, I can do that because it's the truth. So he said, Ashwatthama the elephant, but the part the elephant, Krishna blew his conch, I think, right? Or all the conches, right? In other words, that couldn't be heard by Dronacharya. So he said, oh, Ashwatthama, that must be my son. So he became disheartened. And was he killed at that point? Or shortly thereafter? Whose head? No, Ashwatthama wasn't killed, but Dronacharya thought he was, and then he became disheartened. He wasn't fighting, whatever. So that's these are the techniques that can be used by Krishna as pure devotees to achieve the good end, the proper end. Sometimes they a little doubtful, he says, well, is that really on it? But that doesn't matter. Krishna can do all kinds of things to achieve his end, which are always perfect because he's Krishna. Even the dancing with the gopis. I mean, I remember, a classic case. I'm waiting to pick up my bag. I was flying. I forgot where I was coming from, out the carousel. And he saw I was dressed like this, and one guy came up. He said, "How can you worship a god who dances with thousands of girls? It's very immoral and all this stuff." Yeah. The classic mistake, right? I didn't get into it with him at all. I just said Hare Krishna. I think I moved around to the other side of the thing. But this is a mistake that people have. It's the most moral thing. In other words, Krishna's, whatever he does is most moral. These were the greatest devotees, these gopis, who gave everything up to please him. This is a very important point. It's made distinctly in chapter 4 of the Adi Leela. It's a very important chapter. Describes who is Radharani, what the difference between Kama and Prema, the classic, Atmandriya Vritti Vanchidari and Kam, Krishna Ndrita Vritti Ichadare Prem Nam. The desire to satisfy one's own senses, that's called kama, lust. That keeps you entrapped in the material world, in birth and death. But the desire to please Krishna's senses is prema. That's the essence of it. Bhajaniya, this wonderful phrase, I memorized it when I first read it. It's very easy, it's just short. When I first, practically the first year I was a devotee, reading the second canto. And it's in the purport to the famous verse, Akama, Sarvakamova, Mokshakama Hudadadi, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham Param. Comes after a whole laundry list of you want a beautiful wife, worship Uma. You want health, worship the sun. There's a whole list of the gods, and you can get result. But whether you're full of all these kama, these material desires, or free of material desires, or you want mukti, moksha kama, right? You're very, very eager for your own liberation. Those who are intelligent, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Purusham Param, will practice intense devotional service, focused devotional service to the Supreme Person, Krishna. So in the purport there, Prabhupada, there's a second paragraph, he's defining what a kama is. And actually it's a noun, so I revised it to say an akama, because a kama is a noun. It doesn't mean just free of kama, the one who is free of kama. And he describes that. One who is free of kama means one who is free of personal sensual desire, material desire. But he's not free of desire, because that's unnatural. So the desire is to please Krishna. So Prabhupada describes it. And then he has a sentence, and this is interesting because it's very clear. I have facsimiles of the actual typed out manuscript. Prabhupada typed out the entire second canto and brought it with him in the manuscript form. He actually bought the books for the first canto, but he didn't want to stay in India and try to do the second canto. He brought all that with him on his adventure to come to America. And he had Hayagriva to help him retype the whole thing. Because Prabhupada is so frugal that all the lines are very close, and they reach the end, and you don't have room to do any editing between. You have to have some room. They had to retype it double space so he could then edit it. But in the process of editing, he made a huge mistake in that purport. Because this essence of this akama spirit for a devotee is to take one's pleasure only in giving pleasure to Krishna. You see, your pleasure is when you can see that you have contributed to Krishna's pleasure. Then you're happy. Just like a mother, with a little baby who can't speak or anything, and 2 weeks old. So the baby's lying there, and the mother's looking at him and says, "Oh, maybe he's hungry," so he offers the breast and he sucks the breast. Oh, nice, he's happy. And then the baby feels fed and loved and protected. Can't say anything, can hardly think now yet. But the baby is happy, is pleased, and smiles at the mother. No teeth yet, toothless smile. But still the mother is so overjoyed. Why? It's not like, okay, look, you little guy, what can you do for me? No. Just be healthy and happy and feel safe. And this is the purest facsimile of pure bhakti that there is in this world. The complete selfless mother of a mother for a child. Now, of course, Krishna also got that from Yashoda, when he was born. But she was giving it, and she knew. Oh no, she didn't know at that time that Krishna is God. But he was reciprocating perfectly as a little child, and she was in ecstasy. So so it's in a Sanskrit phrase that's quoted from the Sandarbhas. I haven't been able to locate which Sandarbha of Jiva Goswami. Bhajaniya padama purusha sukha matra sasukatvam. This is a concise statement of what pure bhakti is, what we're aiming for. Bhajaniya means the worshipable. Padama Purusha, Supreme Person, Krishna. Bhajaniya Padama, Sukha Matra, only his happiness. Sukha Matra, Matra means only. Swasukatvam, one takes one's pleasure only in giving pleasure to the Supreme Lord. You see? But it came out rather, the akama means to find one's pleasure only, get one's pleasure only from the Supreme Lord. No. That's like, please give me or Lord, please give me my daily bread. That's not pure devotion. That's motivated. until you're motivated. So that's been changed to take one's pleasure only in giving pleasure to the Supreme Lord. Hope that revision goes through. It's kind of essential. We'll see. Anyway, so here, we're seeing the great quality of Vasudeva in keeping his head, in this dangerous situation, and saying just the right words to move Kaṁsa to give up his idea of cutting off Devaki's head. But what he had to do was promise, because Vasudeva was so upright that his promise was as good as gold. He did break his promise. He didn't give the eighth son to Kaṁsa. He took the eighth son across the river and the whole thing. But anyway, so it's a great example of how great devotee, such as Vasudeva, thinks on his feet and does the right thing to save the situation and save his wife, especially in this case. Especially he knowing that Krishna is going to come. He's going to appear from Devaki. So it's this part of one of the real nectar pastimes that we're going to be diving into here as we can proceed in the 10th canto. Any discussion on this very great revelation of Vasudeva's presence of mind? Imagine what it takes to say to someone who's about to chop off your wife's head, "Oh, great hero." I mean, to say it with sincerity, so he really believes it, that you mean it, and the things that he's saying here, flattering Kaṁsa. That's what it takes sometimes. All right, we have a few minutes. I'll give you a poem. How's that? Something nectar. Okay. Well, this one, I don't know. I haven't shared for a while. This is one of the verses that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya wrote. I think it's one of the 100 that he wrote when Lord Chaitanya revealed himself. Sushloka Shatakam, I think it's called. And it's the easiest verse to chant in terms of the meter. Every single syllable is long, so that you don't have to worry about figuring out. Barha, no, how's it go? Yeah. Barha bidam maura bibrad vangshi naran atanvan nana kalpa shri sampanno gopa stribi sambhita netranandam kurvan krishna tunchad vikshetha sarve kamak sampadhyera asmakam ridyasina. Now, if you know Sanskrit, I kind of muffed the third line a little bit there. I have to review it, but that is the verse basically. So I put it into an English verse with basically the same meter. Decked with crown of peacock plumes and chanting songs with flute you sing, wearing lovely ornaments while standing in the gopis' ring. Dear most Krishna, eyes delight if you will kindly glance our way. All our heart's desires will be fulfilled on this most blessed day. What's not to like? You can say that verse to Krishna. Queen Kunti, Tvaime anannivishya matir madhubate sakrit ratamun bahataranda gangeva ogumadanvati. O Madhu's Lord, please ever fill my mind with thoughts of thee, not any other kind, as Ganges torrent flows into the sea, let all my love flow constantly to thee. And let's see, here's one I used to chant with Sukhi Bhakta whenever we would get together. This is many years ago. I taught him this verse. Udasipadispurat, this is Rupa Goswami. Udasipadispurat indidamindindidamandara svajolasitam hadamanganata mangala mangala satchandanam vande. Upon his chest is manifest the mark of goddess Shri, and thereto rest the best of wreaths, a temple for the bees who worship him by singing hymns that limn his loving play. I forgot to give you the meaning of this. There's a homonym for the word limb. You know the word limb, like arms and legs, L-I-M-B. But there's also a word Limn, pronounced the same exact way, which means to describe. As like in illuminate, it comes from the so what's great about lim is it rhymes with him. Both H-I-M and H-I-M-N. So H-I-M-N is a song. Let me start again. Upon his chest is manifest the mark of Goddess Shri, and there to rest the best of Vries, a temple for the bees, who worship him by singing hymns that limn his loving play, while Shri Hari most gleefully acclaims the way they pray. For Braja's love-mad milkmaids and for all the Brahmins' wives, Shri Krishna is the ultimate good fortune in their lives. His sandal paste anointed limbs bedim the full moon's glow, and to the lotus feet of Shri Hari I bow down low. Hari Hari Bol. All right, we have 1 minute. I'll give you the 2 essential verses of the Bhagavad Gita, 1865, 66, which kind of wraps up the whole thing. We should know these. Manmana bhavaman bhakto madhyati mam namaskuru mamavashasi satyam te pratijani priyosi me. Just think of me, become devoted, worship me, and bow down low. You come to me, I friend, I promise you this boon I shall bestow. Sarva dharmam parityajya mame kaṁsa bhaja. Aham tvam savapapebhyo mokshyisyasi ma shuchaha. Just think, yes. Just give up all these dharmas and surrender only unto me. Your sins I'll nullify, O Arjun, from anxiety. Be free. And then on an auspicious note, if there's no questions. Vanessa, are you still there? She comes to chant.
I'm here. Sorry.
Oh, you have any questions, comments?
I did have something that crossed my mind, but it's not really. I was just thinking about how Devaki and Rohini are sister wives of Vasudeva. But yeah, so that's. I mean, I was just thinking, like, how was Balaram transferred to the womb of Rohini? I mean, that's kind of mystical. So it's hard to...
totally mystical. I couldn't explain it. But it's one of those things that, Krishna could do anything, for his pastimes. Yeah, they're actually sisters. They're both co-wives. They're co-wives of Vasudeva. Vasudeva has 12 wives or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Rohini was
that.
already safe in Vrindavan, as far as I know at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, the whole thing is there's one wonderment at every step. You can read these again and again. Thank you for that, Vanessa.
Okay. Yeah, of course. Hare Krishna. I'll see you tonight, Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
Thank you for a nice class.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.